All right, we're back for the day. This is Marmoset. We brought in the high and the low for the first can model. They're overlapping right now. I need to actually make sure I'm streaming. Looks like it's working. I forgot to rewrite the text for the last video. I'll do that a little bit later. Today might be a really quick video. I'm not really sure. But let's see, I don't remember the hotkeys for moving in Marmoset. Okay, so you gotta hold on Alt, and then you could middle mouse, left click, and right click. And that's so Alt is like the camera controller. So we have can 1, which is our high, and then can 1 low is our low poly. We're gonna make a bake project. I'm not wearing my headphones, so I hope I'm not. Okay. Our stream's muted, so we're not double talking. So we're going to drag the low model in the low, and the high model in the high. And now it hid the high for us. And we can click on the baking one with the bread icon. You can see the settings here. I wonder if this, I think this says my actual thing. I don't remember. Something happened here. I have to make a new folder here. I'm going to call it textures. And I'm going to make a new folder in that. And I'm going to call it bakes. And I don't want to save as a PSD. I want to save as a PNG. And we'll just call this one I'll just call it cup 1. Bottle 1? I can't remember. Let's just call it cup 1 for now. Okay. Yeah, so it does actually put the name of my folder structure. I'm just looking at the settings. Someone was having issues with this bake mode interactive. I think like they wanted to do something, but it kept automatically updating, so like it screwed up what he was doing. So I think he turned this off, and that helped him. But I think it's cool to have that as interactive though, in most cases. They recently like overhauled the baking stuff, which is really cool, I think. Or was it baking? They did a bunch of stuff, which is awesome. I'm just trying to remember if I need anything. I'm a little sluggish because we worked in the morning and we had a pretty big meal like an hour ago, like less than an hour ago. I'm debating if I want another coffee, but it's already 9. That's interesting. Fixed mirror tangents. That's interesting. I assume that's really useful in some cases. Oh yeah, let's go down to 512. It might be too low. We could probably bake higher and then squish it down later in Photoshop. Let's see what it does with 512 though. I'm just kind of curious. Right now it's just baking normals. We bake ambient occlusion. I'll give it curvature. Let's see if we can add anything else in here. We can do height, position, cavity, thickness. Thickness would be kind of useful for like subsurface scatter, I found. Just looking at other options here. We could bake. Huh, wait, this kind of, okay, so it can let me bake the gloss, specular, roughness, albedo. I feel like I'm trying to imagine like useful cases for that. Um, Vertex color as well. I'm trying to imagine because I remember there was a case where I was using Substance Designer only specifically to bake over like color data or something. I don't remember. I'm trying to think. And if it was so annoying because like I don't like Substance Designer, and that was like the only reason why I ever used it to bake over like what is it like? It was basically to like project bake over color or something. I don't remember. What was the purpose? But I mean, just thinking out loud. But if this does what I was doing over there, that'd be awesome. But you can't see it as well in the stream, sadly, because I'm sharing only the program. I might change that later, but I don't know. I like the anonymity, anonymity. Um, Also, I wanted to experiment with playing like short tidbits of sound as like a joke. Like I wanted to do the Dragon Ball Z intro episode thing when I start the stream, be like next time on Dragon Ball Z, and then have the music go. But I wasn't sure how much I could play before getting copyrighted, so I wanted to experiment with that. But kind of getting sidetracked. Um, well, why are there two normals? That's kind of weird. Oh, that's just to show it. Okay, I see. Yeah. So I brought in. Did I bring it in? Curvature. I think I'm trying to decide what else to add here. We could do cavity, but I feel like that's like eh. I mean, the option's kind of cool. Let's include cavity. Okay. So normals, curvature, ambient occlusion, and cavity are the ones we're gonna bake. They're gonna be like the base maps. The most important ones for us is the normal and the ambient. And I was thinking about leaning these models more for like diffuse based models. So like hand painted stylized texture. But in this case, we're not going to be painting because painting is a lot of work and time consuming. Maybe later on in the streams and the workflow, we'll start to add coloring to the workflow. But for now, what I'm really trying to do is get like the thing down, like the workflow down, that we're pumping out models, and then we could maybe start to mix in more coloring once everything becomes more automated and kind of really what do you call it? Like I'm just not even. It's like second nature because I think one concern I have is getting super perfectionist about trying to get something painted right, and it's just like a model that doesn't even matter, and I'm like freaking out about getting the shadow right or the right value next to the right tone and all this, and it's like ugh. Okay, anyways, so this is the first model we were going to experiment with, and then oops, I didn't mean to make it smaller. Let's see what happens on the stream because I accidentally tabbed over like that. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the go button as well. Where's the go button? Oh, okay, so oh here, start baking 4 maps. What? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, you know what? Did I set it in the right place? Let's see. It's good to have the right folder structure too. So I have my folder structure is I have the drink bottle folder, which is the model folder. I have the Blender files, images, so I take pictures, Marmoset files, objects, reference, and textures. And this is going into textures, bakes. So it did bake out correctly. The normals look okay. Normals is weird because I think there's like two types of normals, like the way they're bent, and I didn't know this for the longest time. and I would look at my models and then I'd feel like something was off, but I didn't know what it is, and it turned out that I was using the wrong normal type. So I think the two are OpenGL normals and then DirectX normals, and basically the only difference is the yellow. Wait, what is that? Is it the? It's like red, green, blue. Like one of the channels are flipped. I think it's the green channel, so that's inverted the color, and I think it stands for Y, like X, Y, Z, and the Y is basically inverted. So you'll see like lighting details be all weird in some if the normals weren't made for that engine. Um, and I think like for example, Blender defaults to like OpenGL, and I think Substance defaults to OpenGL. I think Unreal defaults to DirectX, and so you have to be mindful of that. And yeah, I'm like I feel like I'm really trailing. It's weird, but yeah. So we have these textures. What am I doing? What am I doing? So we could preview it here. Oh wow, it's baking again. Okay, so this is probably what it's talking about. So every time you tab out, it like reinitializes. I don't like that. So let's turn this off as well. Just offline it. And then we just hit that start and it'll probably. So it was cool that we learned from his trial and error. Um, let's go to Blender. Let's just preview it in Blender. So what am I doing? Where is everything? Who am I? So we're going to tab back to Blender. And this is the model. Let's go to the material tab and we'll make material for this. It'll be real quick and easy. This is the shader tab. I like the setup. I have the UVs up here and then the shader tab down here. And we're gonna make a new material. Oh, I called this can. So we named the textures wrong. Let's correct that really quick. It'll be quick on my end. I'll just go back to that bread icon and we're gonna change the name to oh, I forgot again. Wow. Wow, I forgot fast. Oh, okay, so it's called can. Where am I? Okay. Let's delete these. And then where is this thing again? I'm going to bring my Marmoset closer on my tab because I'll be using it more often right now. So, oh my god, I forgot it again. Oh no, it's called can. Okay, so we'll just call it can1. And then we'll hit that bake button again. There you go. That was fast. And then we're gonna go to back here. And we made the shader, and let's call this one can map, can1 map. Kind of don't like how much underscore is in that, but let's just keep going. And then I think in this version of Blender, you could just drag and drop materials in, but I think if you couldn't, oh wait, isn't there a fast way? What was a hotkey for like, there's like a hotkey to do, I think it was a Node Wrangler. So let me double check what Node Wrangler hotkeys were. Let's ask Google. I always forget. I don't use it enough to remember. So it's saying shift control. No, that can't. That's not it. That's like the really common one to use. Alt. No. There's got to be like that really. This can't be. Let me see. Node Wrangler hotkeys. Nope. Node Wrangler add. Let's see what it says. Okay, so it's Control Shift T. That's what it was. Control Shift T. And then the reason why I like using Node Wrangler is it sets up the pre-connections to the texture. Like, let me do this. It does this. It does this stuff here. Like it does this. And I always forget what this is, but Node Wrangler. So you Control Shift T while you have this selected, and it adds this stuff. So this added the normal, which might be a cool thing to preview. I don't think we've previewed in this mode, so let's go up some modes here. Let's bring our light closer. Actually, let's delete that light. Let's make a, where am I? Let's make an area light. And let's add a plane. So there's a bit of secondary bounce light there. If we wanted to get fancy, we could kind of do that studio thing. I'm just gonna bevel that. Where is this thing? Just add some segments, not too much. Wow, look at that. Fancy. Oh, I was like stepping right there. That's kind of weird. Let's make this a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit wider. Let's add a second one. Something like this, like an off angle. Something like that. I might add one more, and this will be used as a rim light. Kind of get that interesting light on the edge. So then I like this. Yeah, it's cool. These lights are annoying, so what I'm gonna do is turn off extras. You can't see them anymore. Let's also do shade smooth. Oh, that's what it was. So it was stepping. So that shade smooth got rid of that. Cool. Looking at the challenge there. So apparently this has a normal applied. But I feel like it's not there. Okay, so I changed it to blue to make sure it is actually applied. Alright, problem solving. Alright, here we go. Well, why is it set the point? Is that right? Point? That can't be right. Why is that point? Isn't it texture? Let's see what it looks like with and without it. So chop that away. Bring it back. Oh, okay, so it does actually have an effect. Let's switch it back to point. I see absolutely no difference. By the way, I'm cutting this by holding control, right click, and I slice it. So having it does help here. We'll probably notice it more over here, but I was expecting more. Like I was expecting, huh? Yeah, that didn't really do much, honestly. Let's try adding another thing. So select this guy, Control Shift T, and then we're gonna add the AO. So it's not connecting it for us. It's probably because it's like this isn't a color. So this is set to non-color. Let's set it to color. You have to have non-color for the normal map, but for this, I guess sRGB, I think. I might be wrong here. Let's leave it sRGB for now. Connect it to color. switch it to this mode, see what that looks like. Chop it away. Make this white. No hue. Oh, that's not right. Zero saturation, that's right. Okay. So this and then this. Okay, so you could see the AO happening here. Okay, so that's notable. Let's see what this does. Oh, this one you can't see. I think you need the, oh no, you can. Oh. Wow, that actually really cleans that up. I'm actually surprised at how well that cleaned that up. Wow, that's a surprisingly pleasantly good thing. I did not expect that at all. So even though the model doesn't line up perfectly, the bake cleans it up. The bake added that division. That's really cool. I didn't know that would happen. That is a pleasant surprise. I learned something just now. That is really cool. Um, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. Let's look at the bottom. Let's hide this temporarily. And cut it away again. Chop. Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. So the normal actually did a lot. I'm actually really impressed. It's really subtle, but it's doing a lot. We this piece, I think it was the way I modeled it. So if you look at the high poly here, I actually just kind of, it's like kind of not really defined. So like this is all just like a hard edge. I could have gone in there and I could have beveled this edge. Okay. Okay, the perfectionist in me is like, okay, well, why aren't you doing it right now? But the other part of me is like, do I really want to do this? You could do it. It could be an example. So, um, okay, so let's say in this pipeline of errors, I'm saving. So far, really pleasant, really good. So, no problems with the bake. Very fast, very easy. And the actual maps look really good, the AO and the normal map. Sometimes the normal map's really buggy and issuey, but today it was like, boom, that's exactly what we wanted. It was kind of more subtle than I was expecting, but it works perfectly, as expected and hoped. So anyways, let's hide the low poly for a sec, and let's look into the high poly. So just in case, we'll make a backup of this. And what I was looking at was this piece right here was a little boring. So I'm going to try to add a bit more beveling. And we're not too concerned about like how many edges we are putting on this thing because it's the high poly anyways. Okay. So that looks much cooler to me. So what we'll do is we will export this one out again. So export, and by the way, we have a folder in our objects folder called high and low, and basically we'll just send this to the high folder and replace the other one, and Marmoset will automatically update it because we are using the same model. So export as FBX, as can1, selected, save everything, and then let me tab back over to Marmoset and tab back here, and let's hit the bake button again. Actually, before we bake, let's check out the low. So yeah, look at that. It brought it in on its own. And now let's see. Let's switch this again, and then we'll hit the bake button. Start. That was fast. Let me look at the textures in my folder. It looks like it actually applied. It looks like the edge has more lighting detail on it. Let me look at the way it's baking too. I wanted to see. So if you ever had issues, you could just hit this flip Y. If it was OpenGL or DirectX and you didn't know, if it felt like it was wrong, you just flip this guy. And sometimes you'll see it fix. Like for example, if you had like a coffee cup and you were looking at the handle and you noticed the light of the specularity was reflecting on the opposite bottom end, and you're like, that doesn't make sense. Chances are the normals are reversed, and you just flip the Y and it'll switch it basically between the two OpenGL or DirectX versions of the normal, and then hopefully it'll fix that issue. I don't know if that was an appropriate sidetrack. Because now I forgot what I was doing. Oh, by the way, this is kind of cool. So you click on the low and you can kind of change the cage of the bake, which is really good. So if you don't really want to go in this, my brain is like, ugh. But what am I trying to say? Okay, so if you're baking something and something is really close to this, you could tell the cage to go up to here, so it would ignore stuff like right here, and it wouldn't project on to the bake. And you could change it like this. But in our case, it doesn't really matter. It's just this floating, free floating standalone object. So, what was I doing? We hit the bake, right? Yeah, we hit the bake. So now we switch back to Blender. Blender, where are you? Okay. So I'm gonna try to stay clean here. So I'm gonna delete the old one. Actually, wait, no, it's not deleted just yet. Because things might not have worked, so I'll keep that one for now. But let's bring the low poly back, and then let's apply the texture. Let me delete this. And then let's do Control-Shift-T and bring in that normal. Bring it down here. And we can see looks interesting. So let's see how it looks without it. With it. Without it. With it. So we're kind of having this weird issue with if you look at the geometry, the limitation of the face divisions here versus what it's projecting from. So like you get this weird banding, I guess. Yeah. It's not bad. I mean, it's a little bugging me, but it's okay. I don't. Okay, anyways. I think it's acceptable. I think this is where I have to draw the line where we have to say this is good enough. I think there was a way I was able to solve it, but in this case, it's not bothering me enough to the point where I don't want to try to fix it. So yeah, we're good. So I also want to try to see if point changes. That has no difference. I'm actually not really sure what the difference is for this point versus texture. Texture doesn't work right. Oh no, it does. Ooh, that one doesn't work. So I don't really know. I don't fully understand this. I don't use it often enough. So, but this has to be non-color. That was a big thing. This can be sRGB, I think. And again, let's plug that in just to see. So it really adds the shadows here. We would probably apply this as like a, you could do combined color. I think it was like this. Combined color. Or is it, what was it? Could have been combined color. No. There was like, it was, oh, it was a mix. That's what it was, a mix color. Yeah. So you basically do like this is A, and then your main texture as B, and you could do like a multiply. So basically the AO darkens the color, and yeah. In fact, I might do this, but I'll just have the main texture be this color. So I'll actually use it. And I'll do as a multiply. You won't see a difference right now, but I'm just going to weaken it. Let's see how it looks before and after here. Oh, it's the same. Hmm. Okay, so um this is, let's see if we can undo. So there's no difference. Ooh, why is that? I'm confused. Mix. Ah. Oh, I see. I'm going to 100% I'm going to 100% AO versus the color. Switch it back to multiply. Okay. Let's switch this color to white. So now, the closer I get to this, the more white it is. What? That's confusing. It's not necessarily darkening it, darkening that, maybe that's why. Darken, let's see if darken does that. No. Let's see if screen does that. No. Overlay. Oh, that's interesting. Hmm. Okay. Um, and is that different than this? No. Okay. Hmm. This is weakening it. Okay. Oh. Yeah, but this is kind of doing what I want, so I'm going to use overlay. So it's there, but it's not overpowering. It kind of like it kind of did a, what do you call it, like an overexposure of it and blew out like the gradients and just pulled it in, which is what I wanted. Yeah, this is the, we can make this as a group as well. That's not what I wanted. I didn't need that. I meant, what is that called? A note. Or what is it called? I swear it was a note, right? What is it called? Oh my god, there's ants in my glasses. Oh my god, I spit on my glasses. Okay, so, hmm. Join in new frame. Oh, okay, that's what it was. Join in new frame, Shift P. Alt P, what does that do? Let's see if Alt P gets rid of it. No. Oh, Alt P lets me take it out. Shift P. Oh god, that's not what I wanted. Okay, and Alt P. Ooh, that's really confusing. Okay. Can I add these to this frame? Join a new frame. Shift P. What if I delete this frame? Okay. I just press X to delete them, and then Shift P to make a new one. And then I think you could rename these so you can call it like oh wait. I'm gonna call it AO. Maybe I'll call it ambient inclusion. Did I spell it right? I hope I spelled it right. And then Shift P. And call this one normal. There you go. So that makes it a little bit easier to remember what's happening. Save. So that's going to be kind of the way we want to work for the rest of them, and we'll kind of see how the results look at the end. So that'll be cool. So let's do the next piece. The next piece will, and by the way, these are all 512 textures, so not too big. But this model's not going to be that important, so it's okay. I'm trying to think like how we could. These are all like next to each other. I would imagine you could like bake as a group, but I don't know. Okay, whatever. It's okay. Just kind of thinking out loud. So let's do can 2. Let's go export FBX, and we'll call it low poly. Let's call it can 2 low. The selected objects only, and then let's export out can 2. Oh yeah, by the way, we could delete the old one and then rename the new one of the first can model, this guy. Save. And again, let's export out this guy. Export. Go back. High poly. And set this to can 2. Selected objects only. And since we're here, let's just do all of them. Why not? So let's export this guy. This one will be teacup. We'll call it teacup. Teacup 1. And teacup 2. Teacup 2. Okay, cool. So all the highs are out. Wait, before we do this, actually, I think this is gonna have faceted faces because of the way this is. Let's do shade smooth on these. So we have to actually re-export them. God, it's like that the meme with in Blade Runner where he's like, God damn it. It's okay though. We already wrote the names out, so we just have to replace them, which is pretty easy. And the names match nicely. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Export FBX and teacup 1. And then export FBX teacup 2. There you go. I think that was important to uh to to right click and then shade smooth the surface so it's smoother for the high poly. I think that was a big thing I didn't really do for this, but luckily I think it's already really smooth, so it didn't matter in my case, so we're good. But anyways, yeah, let's hide those. Go high, go to the lows, and let's do the same process here. Export selection. And we'll call this one can. Oh wait, before we do this, actually, let me look at something. Let me shade smooth these as well. Yeah, I think we're good. I think I already did that, so it didn't really do anything here, but let's export again, export FBX, and then we're gonna go to low poly, can to low, this guy, export selection, and this is gonna be called teacup 1, and this guy 2. All right, sweet. So we saved out highs and lows. Let's tab back over to Marmoset. And where are you, Marmoset? So I think there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could create a different break group for each of these. We could put them all in this thing. I don't know. I kind of want to experiment. You could do it with this, multiple texture sets. Huh. I don't fully understand this. It would be kind of cool because then you can kind of automate it more, especially if you had like 10 or 12 different texture sets you had to do. You could just drag and drop and do it here. In our case, it's pretty simple, so we don't need this, but in the future, it'd be kind of cool to figure this out. Don't know what this means. So I think it's telling it the underscore is like a separator, but I don't fully understand that. Yeah, I don't understand this fully. It's okay. Let's not worry about it right now. And let's do it one by one. I'll make a new bake. And I probably should rename these. So this was bake can. And then I'll name this one bake can 2. And I'm just going to rename them all. Don't have to worry about it later. And one more. Kind of annoying. The way they set up the renaming clicking thing is like it's not intuitive. It's different than a lot of other programs. So like you double click it and it gets out of it. So you have to slow click twice. Like you have to click once to highlight it and then click again versus a double click. Oh wait, double click works. Okay, I don't know. It just feels like it's a little wonky. I don't know, explain it. Also, F2 doesn't work. You can't rename an F2, which kind of blows, but nitpicking there. Okay, so bake can 2. Where am I? Oh, we have to redo these. That's kind of annoying. We're just missing one, right? We're just missing cavity, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, we're just missing cavity. But we brought it back, so it doesn't matter. Let's do that really quick for all these. So bring in cavity. Configure cavity. Okay, so now that's all streamlined. And we can import can 2. Really boring technical stuff. Yay, yippee! Can 2. So this is the high poly. And then let's import the low poly. Okay, so that one, oh, it's baking it already. Oh, it's because it's set to interactive. Let's turn that off for all of these, because that's kind of intrusive in my case. turned it off. But apparently it baked it already. I didn't even name it. It's baking to PSD. I don't even know where that is. It's baking to my objects folder. Wait, is it? Where is this baking? What the hell? Let me double check where this is happening. Pictures. Not here. Where is this happening? I don't see where it's baking. Oh wait, maybe it's next to the Marmoset thing. It could be next to the Marmoset. Yeah, it was baking next to my Marmoset file. It made a bunch of PSD files, but I don't want PSD. I'm gonna delete them. And then I'm gonna tell it to go to my, where are you? I want it to go to textures, bakes, and I'm gonna switch this to can 2. Okay. And now we can hit that bake button. It baked the 4 maps. And let's save our Marmoset file. And let's go back to Blender. And let's apply this first. I just wanna see it work or not. Let's make a copy of this. And we'll call it can 2. And then I'm going to apply this back here. And then over here we'll apply can 2. So it's using all the textures from this one, which is not good. But we'll change that in a second here. Okay, double check and see, this is can 2. I'm going to delete all this stuff. And delete all this stuff. And then Control-Shift-T. Let's add the normal for can 2. Wow, okay. Looks pretty good. Let's bring these closer. Let's do Shift-T. And I'll put this as normal. And see if it looks okay. Yeah. And then we can do a before and after as well. Ooh, I'm seeing artifacts though. What is this? This looks really good though. I'm pretty happy with this. The normal map for it. This one as well. This is really good. This and this. That turned out really good. But what's this artifacting? What happened? It might be where the normal where the low poly and the high poly are not matching, but I don't know yet. I don't understand what's happening here. Let's bring the high poly. They actually are matching. And even then they're not doing the same thing. Something weird is happening. Let's hide the high poly. Let's look at the UVs on this guy. So let's look at this texture, see what's happening. So I'm seeing it's actually on the bake here. Why is this happening? Let's look at Marmoset. Normals. Let's look at the cage. So I'm going to tab the screen back to Marmoset. Let's look at the low. Let's see what the cage is doing. Let's show the high. Oh, okay, so the cage was not covering the high. So we can actually do the thing we were talking about earlier. The minimum versus the maximum. Don't fully understand what these two do. Let's see. So we're just making the cage bigger. You don't want the cage. You don't want the cage too big because then it starts to warp certain details, but so that's what that was. Okay, so now we just have to hit the bake button again and we're good. I remember when I used to do this by hand, I used to make the cage in ZBrush, and it was this painstaking back and forth and like remembering to save the right model. So you had you had a third model to juggle, so you had the high, the low, and the cage, and then you had to make sure the cage and the low had the same topology, and you'd have to like reconnect each piece, and if you had multiple pieces, and um, you have to make sure the cages of other parts didn't intersect with other parts, and it was like this horrible, confusing mess. So Marmoset really helped simplify that by just adding basically here, and it kind of automates this duplication process. So yeah, let's see. So I'm gonna hit that bake button, and then let's go back to Blender, and then here, and then I'm gonna delete this one, and then we should see it work this time. Can to normal. There you go. So the can sides don't have a problem anymore, but I'm getting a new issue. I think this has to do with this cage being having like inflating and having issues with this cage. So I have to think about a creative solution here. Just for fun, let's see how it looks with and without the normal. Ooh. Oh, that's cool. I did Control Shift. That made a mix. I don't know what that is though. So this is without it, and then without it. With. So it adds those ribs and all the top detail, which is amazing. It also cleans up the cylinders a little bit and makes this more solidified. But again, we have this issue right here. So let's try to solve that issue. Save. Go back to Marmoset real quick. So our issue is part of the cage is good and part of it isn't good. So we could paint offset here. Estimate offset. Use custom cage. Cage. Oh, I could plug it in. So we could actually do what I was talking about by adding a custom cage, which might be good. So that'll be like our final backup if everything else fails. But let's see what these other things can do. Estimate offset. A painter. Estimate offset. Interesting. So you could do it by coloring. Weird. Oh. That is so cool. I've never done this before. Um, yeah, that's really cool. Let me clear. Oh wait, yeah, and then So black brings it to the surface. And then white, I assume, inflates the crap out of it. Oh. Let's undo this. Estimate offset. Paint offset. Let's see. Paint skew, what does that do? Oh, that's like, I guess if you have like a bolt sticking out, you could like fix the skewing that happens if like, I never really did that, so see, I'm just kind of curious to see what happens. I can't really tell what's happening, so I don't know, I just wanted to see what happens. Okay. Let's paint offset. So I think this is the one that I'm going to need. So just make sure nothing's poking through. So the problem is these cages on the top and bottom are too big. So we need to make them smaller. I'm going to use my tablet and just kind of paint this area in. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller. This is really interesting to paint instead of sculpting it. Let's see what this did. I don't know if this might cause weird deformations with the bake though. You can also see like areas like here get pulled in, so this kind of didn't work. And it's painting over some places I don't want. I think this method just doesn't work for me right now. Let me see, UV paint. See if that helps in any way. Not really. Yeah, it's a cool idea, but it's just not really working for me. So, let me see. So what I might do is let's do that backup option. Kind of what we used to do is use the custom cage. And we're gonna go back to Blender. So we got to experiment with it and it just kind of didn't do what we wanted. We're gonna make a copy of this and we'll call it cage. And I'm gonna take off the textures for it. And I'm going to go to X-ray mode, select all the faces, Alt S to scale it up. And we're going to show the high poly. So high poly is fully contained here. But the problem is this is inflated too much. So we'll go back in here And the parts that are overinflated, we'll just do Alt S and go back down. Just enough so that it's still contained. So you can see it's about half the size. Still might have some issues though, so we'll see what happens. This piece, I'll just leave it alone. Actually, you know what? I think this piece is too big, so let's Alt S down. And let me see what cage low is looking like. Hiding the high. Oh, it's actually smaller. Okay. There you go. I made it ever so slightly bigger using Alt S. So this should be a good cage, I think. So let's export this and we'll call it can2, and then instead of low, we'll call it cage. Okay, and then we'll go back to Marmoset and we'll import that cage. I'll drag this guy into the cage option. Ooh. Did I not make it big enough? This doesn't look very good. Did I mess up? It doesn't look right to me. Oh, maybe we're fine. Okay. Okay, let's hit the bake button. See if that worked for us. So let's go back to Blender. And I'm going to delete the normal map again. And then add the normal map again. And I don't see anything. Did I mess up? I feel like I messed up something. Oh wait, we have to switch to this. Okay. Is that right? Why does it look so thick? That can't be right. Is that right? Oh, I'm looking at the cage. Okay, so we're still having the issue here. It's better than before, but it's still there. The top looks amazing. We're still faced with this issue with the cages like over intersecting each other. What I could do, let me break this for a sec. I was just looking to see how the normals affected this. Whoopsie. Did not mean to stick it there. Okay. I know I can for sure not bake it like that, but the problem is the for sure method is really tedious. So ideally we can experiment and find a faster solution for the future. But the tedious method is I would bake out the body and I would bake out each cylinder, or at least I'll bake out the cylinder separately and I'll bake out the body separately. So that way they're not intersecting with the bakes. That way we don't have to worry about cages because we just bake out whatever it is. The downside is you'd have to break the model into two parts and bake them twice, and then combine the normals later. or the textures later, which is like really annoying. Or another method is you could have this be the result, and then go in and like Photoshop clean out the textures. But that's also like, ugh. And also there's a chance that like you do it wrong and it looks bad. The first method is the most for sure, but it's also much more tedious. But before we do that, let's go back to Marmoset again. And let's see what we have here. Let's see what we could work with. Let's see if there's anything in the settings we could do to potentially not have to do what I just mentioned. So this method technically works. Uh, I'm trying to think here. Maybe it has to do with min offset. We could experiment with min offset. Extrude when ignoring groups. We could have groups maybe? Exclude when ignoring groups. Or, okay, I have an idea. It's like a hybrid. It's a hybrid idea of the first idea. So let's get rid of this cage. So remove custom cage. And I'm going to clean it up in my folder structure as well. So no more cage. Also, I'm going to delete it in Blender. I want to reduce clutter as much as possible. So get rid of my cage. This might work. And this has to do with how Marmoset's set up. So we can benefit from the fact that Marmoset lets you bake multiple pieces, and basically this will compress it down into one texture. So what I mentioned before was an old method where you have to manually bake each piece like an X normal or something, and then manually combine them and manually put the parts together, paint out the parts that you don't want, and it's like this whole tedious issue. But Marmoset is already in a group like this, so you could technically bake out each piece and then have it combine on its own, and then can make the texture on its own. So let's try that. So what I think we need to do, let's make a copy of our can in Blender and switch back over. And let's hide the original so we don't screw anything up. And I'll probably delete this so it's actually perfect what we're doing. So how this works is you press hover L, separate this. So now we're left with the body and the rings. And then I'm going to export this out. I'm going to call this one FBX. We'll call it can2 body. Oh wait. Yeah. Put low just to kind of stay consistent with our naming. And I'm going to call this one can2 rings low. Okay. And I'm going to delete this just to stay clean. Bring back the original. Save. And then now this is the moment of truth, and to see if the process works, let's tab back over to Marmoset. So in Marmoset, in our can group, we'll leave high alone, but in low, we'll get rid of this, and then we'll import can body low, and we'll also import can2 rings and drag that in there. So now we have two separate lows and a high, and then now let's see what happens when we bake some maps. So it makes 4 maps, which is what we wanted. I'm seeing overlap. That might be a bad sign, but let's just keep going for now, see what happens. So back in Blender, we delete our normal map thing, Control Shift T, import the normal it makes. Damn, I think it didn't work. Why? Let's go back to Marmoset. And let's look at the oh wait, okay. I kind of made a mistake. So since they're both low, they're both sharing the same offset for the, so my idea was kind of cool, but then I realized it didn't work. Damn it. Exclude when ignoring groups. What's that? Exclude when ignoring groups. Exclude this mesh from ignoring. Exclude this mesh from ignore groups option. Oh, baking group. Oh, okay. Okay, wait. There might be something here. We can make a baking group. How do you make a baking group? Group. No. Copy, paste. Okay, we made a second baking group. And then let's get rid of one of the rings and then one of the bodies. So now we have one baking group with the body, one baking group with the ring. And then we can go into the low, and then we can lower this really low. Let me see if I kind of go too low. Let's see. Oh, that's weird. I don't fully understand the difference between these two. Okay, anyways, I think that's good. So if you go back to the other one, that one's fine. And then if I hit the bake, and again, there's only one bake button. So we hit the bake. 4 maps again, which is perfect. And let's tab back over to Blender for the moment of truth. Delete the old one. Control Shift T. Normal. Damn it, I think it's not working. Oh wait. Okay. No wait. Um oh wait. Let me see. Look at this. Look at the texture. Let me see. Okay. We almost got it. Come on, we could do it. We could do it. We could problem solve this. It could be that we have to modify the high poly. And so we would hide the body for the rings, and then we would hide the rings for the body. I think. I think that's what it wants. Maybe. So let's try that. So back in Blender, let's hide the low poly stuff and then bring the high poly up. Make a copy of this and let's go through here and separate these guys and export. So we basically do kind of the same thing for the high poly. And I'll call this one can 2 rings. And then export can 2 body. Okay. And we'll save for now. And then we'll tab back over to Marmoset again. I should get like the little button thing on the side of my thing so I can like do hotkeys like sound effects and tabbing between streams because this is annoying. But we're not at that state, so I'm just gonna work with what we have. So back over here, we're gonna import the high poly models we made. So let's do the body. So we're gonna put this one into the high poly body. And let's do the same for the low. Part of me wants to do it one by one so I can see potentially where things are breaking. So let's try that. Let's just see what happens if I did both, but let's just do the body first and see if that fixes our issues. So I'm going to look at the texture directly. So we're going to save the trouble of applying it. That was it. That fixed it. Oh, actually, yeah, that fixed it. Wait. Yeah, that fixed it. I see like one speck on the ring, but I don't know if that was like before. Let's apply it to the other one too and see if the speck goes away. So technically this fixed it, but let's do it to the other one as well. So we technically fixed our issue, but I want to do the other one and see if it makes it even better. So we'll bring in the ring and then replace it over here. There you go. So ring and then the body. So the body has its own and the ring has its own. And if you hit that bake button again, and we look at the texture directly. Yeah, it did. It actually cleaned up the rings. There was a speck on it and now it's gone. So let's confirm this in Blender. And I'm going to delete these. I don't need these anymore. These are the duplicated high poly things we did. So back to the low. And the thing we're, again, to just kind of clarify, we're trying to fix this cage projection normal map creation issue. And I'm going to delete the old normal map and then apply the new one. Control Shift T. This one. There you go. It's all gone. No more issues. Beautiful top as well. Oh no, there's a small problem. This has to do with so if we really were picky, we could go in there and we could make this piece its own group and own normal model and then bake out that piece again separately, all in the same bake group or bake structure, and then it would do that separately so that we could just follow the same steps. You would basically have to make a copy of the high and the low separated, and it would do it. But I don't care. I feel like that's not a big deal. So we were able to problem solve it, which is amazing. Let's bring in the other texture as well. Actually, you know what? Actually, yeah, let's just bring in the other one. So the AO. Let's go over here. I'm gonna copy this guy and paste it over here. Plug it in there. Oops, I didn't mean to put it in there. Oh, that kind of look cool. Let me see what that looked like. Ooh, that really looks like a soda can now. But I'm just doing AO, so it kind of gives it that soft color. And you can see before and after. So a bit more shadow, a bit more occlusion, nice distinction between the shapes there. And it's 500 polygons, not bad. And let's put this, and we'll call this one Shift P. Rename it and say ambient occlusion. Let me look up. I need to Google. I'm really bad at spelling. I'm gonna double check the spelling. Occlusion. Ambient occlusion. Oh, the L comes first. Whoops. L-U-S, like this. L-U-S-I. L-U-S-I. Okay. I think I spelled the other one wrong. Yeah, I did. Oops. There you go. Nice. Two more, and then we're gonna pass out, I think. Man, I didn't do anything today. I think tomorrow we'll upload these for sale, or not for sale, for free on our Gumroad. We'll also try uploading on Sketchfab, and we'll kind of get an idea of like which platforms seem to be the most gain the most traction and stuff. But yeah, and I'm kind of like tired today, so probably gonna be tired tomorrow too, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah. What am I doing? So this one, there's no overlapping parts like this one, so it's gonna be much more straightforward. This one too. This one's gonna be the most interesting for the normal map. This one will probably not really get anything from the AO or the normal map. So this one, I guess if you painted it or added some interesting like texture to it, it would make it more interesting, but on its own it's probably kind of boring. But anyways, this will be fun. So we already exported these out, so let's go back to Marmoset. Okay. So we solved that one. That was cool. Let's make that smaller. Let's try to stay clean and consistent here. This one, so we have to import. Which one's two? Oh, so we're gonna do the boring one first, but it's okay. So let's go import high poly teacup 1. Teacup 1 high, and then import my brain is slowly shutting down. Teacup 1 low. This is where naming convention comes in handy extremely, because if you just name everything object 1, 2, 3, and you're like, I got this, you know, it's easy to like mix it up and forget and cause more frustration and like, why did I do this to myself? Anyways, that's high, low, and I think we can just bake. Or no, wait, I have to change the output spot. I want you to go here, and I want you to be called teacup 1. Save. And I want you to have curvature, ambient occlusion, cavity? Did we do cavity? I don't remember. Oh, we did. Okay. And we hit the start bake. Let me make 4 maps, and save, and let me check. Let's go back to Blender, and let me duplicate this one, and let's rename it, and let's call it, we probably don't have to duplicate like this, to be honest. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Teacup 1 met. And this one's set back to can 2, and then oh wait, did I? Yeah, there we go. Teacup 1. I probably didn't need to do this. Yeah, we could have just made a new texture, but yeah, it's whatever. And then we could Control Shift T and add teacup normal. And it looks like it's not working. Or maybe like I said, it was going to be super subtle to the point where you can't even tell. This is probably where you'll see it the most. Otherwise, it's like, meh. Yeah, there you go. See, it does actually change the shape of the contour here a little bit, but generally it's like meh. Oh, there's an issue here. See the inside too. Oh yeah, the inside's actually a big difference. But we do have an artifact right there, which is probably just making the cage a bit fatter. So let's fix that issue really quick. I'm gonna just delete this beforehand anyways, because we're replacing it anyways, so really quick, back to Marmoset. Where am I? Move, okay. So we click on the low, and we could probably spot the problematic spot. I actually can't see the problem. I'm trying to see if anything kind of overlaps. Yeah, that's weird. I don't see the spot. It's probably like happening super subtly. Well, anyways, I'm just gonna raise the min offset and then bake again. And then we'll see if that issue still happens here real quick in Blender. Control Shift T, teacup, normal. It's gone, yay! And then we could break it just to see. Yep, it's gone. So that one was done. That was easy. And put this in Shift key and call it normal. Normal. And then we'll do like a quick recap before we quit today. What was the other thing? The other thing was the ambient occlusion, or the AO. Wait, oh, it's right here, okay. Move this closer. And then let's copy paste it from this guy. Paste it over here, connect it there, connect it there. And you'll see a very subtle difference, but it's there. Shift P, and I'll call it ambient. I've probably been spelling ambient occlusion wrong for like years. But anyways, that one's done, and let's do the last one, and it'll probably wrap up for today. So this time we'll just make a new material, because obviously what we were doing before was kind of like pointless, because we deleted everything off of it anyways. Teacup mat, wait, it's gonna teacup 2 mat. Just make sure that's named right, yes. Let's save. Let's go back to Marmoset and make that smaller. Yeah, let's save what we have so far. Import the 2 models we need. So we need the high poly teacup 2, and we need the low poly of the teacup 2. Drag that into low. Cool. And now let's go to the bake tab and let's turn on curvature and ambient, and let's set it to the correct place to export the texture. And we'll call it PNG, or we'll set it to PNG teacup 2. And let's check the cage beforehand and see if we could spot any issues so far, so we don't have to do that again. It's pretty good. I don't see any issues again, so let me make this more visible. Yeah, it's honestly okay. Just to be safe though, I'm gonna raise it a little bit so it might fix issues that I just don't notice. And we'll start bake, save, and then let's tab back over to Blender. And let's go to Control-Shift-T and do normal. Whoa! That looks much worse than I was expecting. Oh, you know what it is? Okay, so when we did our tests, we didn't do it correctly. So the issue was in Marmoset. When I was looking at this cage, I was comparing it to the base low poly, and that's identical. So we didn't see any problems because it's the same model. And so we forgot to turn on the high poly. That's what we're comparing for. There you go. Now we're okay. I was like, hey, it looks fine. I don't see a problem. Okay. Now I don't see any problems. Now we're good. Okay. So now it should be fine. So if we bake it, let's save. And then let's go back to Blender. And then delete this normal stuff. Control-Shift-T, teacup normal 2. There you go. And we'll compare before and after again. So that's before, after. That's incredible. Before, after. Before, after. That's incredible, yeah. You can see this, is this, I don't know, core shadow, I guess? Maybe it's not core shadow, I'm not sure. But that's huge. And it's only 500 triangles, not bad. Nice. How did the edge get handled? The edge is really nice as well. Have no complaints. All right. Shift P, and we'll call this normal. And the ambient occlusion should pop it a little bit, but there's nothing really close together, like crevice-wise, so it's probably not going to do much. We'll see. It'll be a bit of a mystery for me, Could be a pleasant surprise. Let's copy this overlay node over and put it on the base color. What the hell? That is interesting. That was not what I was expecting. What? That is weird. This can't be right. What's happening? Oh, that's why. Wait, what? Why is this teacup 1? Oh, I must have uploaded the wrong one. Okay. Getting tired. I just clicked the wrong one. Okay, so now when I bring over the overlay, connect it. There you go. Oh, that's actually really surprisingly good. It added shadow on the inside of the cup, which I was not expecting. That's a pleasant surprise. Cool. Save. Nice. Probably has a little bit on the bottom there. Kinda. Nice. So we got nice ambient inclusion materials, like low poly models that are like base models. So I think that's good for today. We spent about an hour and a half problem solving and getting the workflow down. Oh, man. So big thing we learned was you can have your main model, and then you could split the model into multiple parts that need to be baked separately, and then put them into separate groups inside the bake. So for example, the rings were causing issues of overlap, so we separated the high poly and we baked those out on its own. And we also found that it would work if you separate out the part that was having the issues and bake that on its own, but it would be cleaner and generally more accurate to separate all parts and bake them all separately. So that was a big one. So you could then what's really cool is since it's just one bake button, it kind of collapses all the bakes down at the end. So most of the work would just be to separate the high with the right low, and then after that you just hit the bake and it's all automated. So that's awesome. That's huge. We learned that we could use this overlay thing to kind of simulate the ambient occlusion, and there's a bit of control there, which is fun. What else did we learn? We learned the setup of the bake process, so we could do this for future models. So basically, we learned how to tab between Marmoset and Blender with OBS, which is kind of a hassle, but it'd be kind of cool later if we had like a little shortcut key thing. We got this to work, and it kind of worked really flawlessly, which is awesome. What else? We experimented with, oh, we can see what this looks like. That, yeah, it looks kind of cool. Let me bring back that thing we hid. Plane. Yeah. I think these are floating, so that's also why it looks a little weird. Let's bring that back up. That looks cool. So yeah, yeah, that was good. And we fixed this, so that was part of the process where it's like the high poly was already finished technically, but then we decided we didn't like something about the high poly, so luckily the low poly matched, so we didn't have to mess with the low poly. But we were able to work backwards and fix the high poly and then figure out the process to update the high poly in the Marmoset bake. And in the case that if the low poly didn't match, we would just have to rebuild the single part that didn't match anymore and then re-export the low poly as well. So that part of the process was kind of an accidental good test. But yeah, we're going to I think tomorrow maybe we're going to export this set and put it onto Gumroad and Sketchfab. So if you want, you can keep your eye out on that.